We have to reveal something very important here. The question regarding why the U.S. economy can't get out of stall speed over the past decade may have finally just been answered by a group of Harvard Business School professors. They are out with a new finding. It's not that our corporate taxes are among the highest or that the minimum wage is too low. It's the political system here in the U.S. that is obstructing our economy and growth. Joining us now is Mihir Desai. He's one of the Harvard professors who put together that study. And live from Los Angeles, businessman and entrepreneur Jordan Winery CEO John Jordan, who is also a GOP strategist. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. To you first, Professor Desai. Your study is really quite an indictment of Washington politics just as we face this presidential election. What did you discover? How is our political system stymieing growth and entrepreneurship in this country?
Well, in combination with Mike Porter and Jan Rivkin, we undertook an effort to really understand what is hurting United States competitiveness. And the two pieces that came out, first was tax policy, but more importantly was the sense of political gridlock and really the sense of pessimism that really anything is going to be changing anytime soon. That's influencing business decisions in all kinds of ways, but maybe most importantly, making people think that the U.S. political system is not one that they want to bet on over the long run, which makes them want to invest elsewhere, and as a consequence ends up affecting U.S. competitiveness quite significantly. Okay, and we can take it to the ground with somebody like John Jordan. When I say the ground, meaning, John, you are an entrepreneur, you are a businessman. Do you see what Professor Desai is talking about that has put up that wall in front of some entrepreneurs, not all, some just scale it easily. We mentioned Uber, we mentioned Airbnb, for example, Warby Parker. Those are all businesses started here in the U.S. during a recession. And yet, nonetheless, maybe they could have been bigger by now. We don't know.
Well, actually, I couldn't disagree more. Political consensus for its own sake is no virtue if the result is bad public policy. And what we've had over the last 8 years is monumentally bad public policy, systematic attacks on the engines of American prosperity in the name of redistribution. For example, roughly $2 trillion worth of drag is imposed upon the American economy as a result of regulations. We have $2.5 trillion overseas. That's up 20% in the last 2 years. That is money that is not being brought back into this country at work. Companies need expectations. They need to understand what the rules of the road are, what their cost structure is going to be. And the explosion in the growth of regulations, which are arbitrarily enforced, ambiguous and difficult, and constantly in flux, inhibit the entrepreneurial spirit and animal spirits, in fact. And that is what stalled growth in this country.
Professor, what about offshore profits? I know your study must have looked at some of that, too.
Yeah, so I think I completely agree that offshore profits are a big piece of the puzzle, but it's really part of a larger puzzle, which is our problems with the corporate tax. We have a corporate tax system that is broken in many ways. It's the worst of all worlds. High statutory rates, medium average rates, giving incentives for firms to keep money overseas, really to invest overseas, and deterring firms from abroad from investing in the United States. So I think the most important thing we can do in the short run, I think the political game is a longer game, but the short run game is going to be on the tax system. And really meaningful corporate tax reform and fiscal reform with a lower top corporate rate, switching to territoriality, could be a really big shift for moving economic growth in the country.
You know what stuns me, John, about exactly what the professor articulates regarding the corporate tax rate? Both Democrats and Republicans have said, we need to fix it, we need to lower it. This is stunning to me, that when you have both sides agreeing and it can't get done, that goes back to the original premise of the professor's study, and that is political gridlock inside the Beltway, does it not?
Well, the fact of the matter is that the Democrats don't really want to lower it. The Obama administration proposed a lowering of it to 28%, but it was wrapped in the budget and with a whole bunch of other things which are essentially poison pills or non-starters for Republicans. Why not do this? If the administration is serious about lowering the corporate tax rate and repatriating that money, do it as part of a clean bill that doesn't have poison pills and all kinds of other things that make it impossible for Republicans to support. What they did, the administration's proposal, is nothing more than a fig leaf. You want to lower it, they want to lower it to 28%. It really needs to be about 15% or thereabouts. But do that as a clean, standalone bill.
Professor, before we go, I need to hear from you how we do catch that entrepreneurship lightning in a bottle, no matter what happens inside the Beltway.
Well, the first thing is I think there's a lot of enthusiasm out there for entrepreneurship. Certainly I see it with our students. I think the first thing that we need to do is clear the political season so we can not think about this anymore and get back to thinking about what really matters, which is economic growth. And I think to do that, we need certainty, as the other gentleman suggested. We need better policies, which is, I think, the tax story that we talked about. And then finally, we really need to invest in our people. Ultimately, entrepreneurship depends on that.
Great to have both of you. Professor Mihir Desai of Harvard, John Jordan of Jordan Winery. Thank you so much.